Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guests today are the Glover and Fox real estate team, and they're out of Los Alamos County. It's Paula Glover and Suzette Fox. Ladies, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, terrific. Well, the first question I have, you're the first real estate team that I've interviewed thus far. What's it like tell me why you've decided to work as a team rather than as individuals, or tell me a little bit about your business model, and then we'll talk all about real estate in the counties that you service.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm Paula Glover, and I started as a realtor in 2015. Prior to that, I was with a title insurance company for 14 years. So I've always been in the real estate market in Los Alamos. We've lived here 20 years, and from title to becoming a realtor, just jumped right into it with a well-known last name in Los Alamos because my husband is born and raised here, and my in-laws have a business here. So my business as a realtor took off very quickly. It was basically the first home showing turned into my first closing, and I've never slowed down. And so I personally got to a point where I wanted a team member, somebody who could assist me in my job. And really, it had come down to working with buyers is a full-time job, and working with sellers is a full-time job. And I also have a family, and I, like to have a few days off, maybe. Yeah. And so it was time, about 3 years ago, it was a time for me to add and create a team. And through all of my time in corporate world, I knew that the best way to grow your team is with a person who has the opposite strengths. So for my strengths and my weaknesses, I needed a person who had the opposite.
So what are your strengths? What are your strengths?
My strengths is on the legal side of real estate because of my time in the title insurance business. And this is how I grew up and where I grew up. I've always been working more the legal side of real estate. I'm not an attorney. I'm not trying to say that, but I can focus on estates and trusts and probate. So, because I've been working those so long, I know the process. So my strength was my knowledge of real estate. People skills, that's easy. But I needed somebody who had like Suzette's vision. So I can do, legal side of it, but I needed somebody who could walk into a home and say, well, let's look at this home other than a 1945 little duplex bungalow in Los Alamos. What else can you see? Well, Suzette has been an interior designer here in Los Alamos for many years and is well respected, and she has the vision. I had the experience, she has the vision. And so when it came to growing our team, she was an obvious fit. I am more of a kind of a bounce around the person, I'm going to run multiple things at once. And Suzette is the organized, on task person.
And Suzette, tell me a little bit about your background, Suzette. How long have you been in Los Alamos?
About 20 years, coming on 20 years. And I first moved here with my husband, and he works for the Llano Foundation, which gives scholarships to students throughout northern New Mexico, and have been an interior designer forever. And went to work with Los Alamos Main Street program and was the executive director there. And that's all about economic development. So I actually hired Red Herman, who you interviewed, previously. So anywho, so I had, really gave my all to that. It was so rewarding, but it had been 8 years, and I just felt, you know what, I need somebody else to come in and really give some fresh ideas. And so being a designer, I always thought about real estate, and I had mentioned it to my daughter, and it turns out that our daughters are best friends. So my daughter mentioned it to Paula's daughter. And, and that was that. So we chatted and just decided, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. And so I mostly work with buyers and can go in and say, imagine this wall gone and this will open up. And so it's kind of a curse half the time because, I walk into a house and I'm like, my mind's going, I take this wall out and I, do all those kind of things. But it's super fun. And I respect Paula so much. And she's got a wonderful moral compass. She's kind and funny, and we just have a great time. So she works mostly with sellers, and, we'll stage houses for free for our clients. And, they appreciate that. So
when you say stage houses for free, don't people typically stage a house? Is there a charge usually? I don't know anything about what's that about. There is a charge?
Sure. Yeah, it's usually about 1% that the seller will pay an organization to stage their home, because the statistics say that you'll get more for your house if it's staged, and quicker closings. So quicker offers.
And staging means you'll take out their regular furniture and put something else in, or you'll go in there with your vision and say, it really would look better if it had a Southwest touch, or is that what you do?
Correct. We bring furniture in, and so we'll stage, especially the main areas, living room, master, the bathrooms, the secondary bedrooms as well. So just to make it present better. Sometimes people go in and they can't imagine, where would we put our sofa? Where would the bed, how would a queen size bed fit in here? Would a king fit in here? So it really helps them visualize what they can fit in the space.
Well, that's a great service if you do it free of charge, because 1%, that's kind of pricey, isn't it?
It sure is.
1% of $400,000 would be, what would that be, 4,000 or something?
4,000.
Wow, so but this would be like existing clients and people that have signed a contract with your team, and you're so that makes perfect sense. You're just not going to do this for anybody, right?
No, it is just for our clients, our listing clients. And
well, that's an incredibly nice service. Again, pardon my ignorance. I had no idea. I mean, I kind of knew that people made it look a little different, but I didn't know there was even a charge for that. So that's a good thing to point out when people are looking at perhaps having, a realtor up in Los Alamos County. I have heard from a couple of other realtors that there's a whole new housing development going up in the White Rock area. Do you want to speak to that at all?
Sure. Okay. So it's I don't know if it's mostly built out, but it's a new development. It's called Mirador. And so they are new construction. It's our first new construction pretty much since our fire. We had the huge fire in 2000. And unfortunately, the Sierra Grande fire, unfortunately, we lost over 400 dwellings. And so homes built after that, between 2000 and 2005 was post-fire. And then we've really gone since about 2005 without any new development. So this development came in on State Road 4 here in White Rock. And, it's by Rayleigh Homes out of Albuquerque. And they range in lot size from 50 foot by 50 foot to 70 foot by 50 foot. Those are the two sizes of lots. And then you can pick your home style from Rayleigh. So that's what it is. And, it's been successful, but it has not affected the rest of our market. There's 160 homes planned for that subdivision. I can't give you the number of how many have sold. I don't track it that closely. Whenever it first came on board and we were excited to see it start, we as realtors wondered how it would affect the home values in White Rock. And I'm extremely pleased to say it hasn't. If anything, it's made a positive change in our price per square foot. It's given us comparables for homes that have been updated and taken care of really well, but it did not bring the price per square foot down on our older homes here in White Rock. There's a market for each product.
And what is what is the price, the price per square foot?
Totally depends on the size of the home. So your home is priced on a price per square foot. In our world, everything's a price per square foot. Right now we're in the 200s, anywhere from about 200 to 240. But there's not an average, because the smaller home can pull a higher price per square foot, where the large homes will have a little bit lower. It's a balance that occurs. You know, the finishes you have, granite over Formica, air conditioning over no air conditioning. You know, have you taken good care of your home? Is it clean and crisp? So again, it's not a cookie cutter number. It's an analysis that we do. And for me, it takes me a couple of days, because I want time to really think about the features of the home, to be able to price it correctly. So,
And what is the median cost right now for a home in the Los Alamos, White Rock area?
about 300.
About 300. Okay. And you know, I know that, if I'm not mistaken, Los Alamos County is our youngest county. I think you folks became a county in either 1942 or 1945. So I think you're the youngest of our 33 counties, right around there. Do you know the exact date? Is it 45? Probably
I want
45.
to say it's 45,
Yeah,
but
45.
Because 42 is when this is just when the whole Manhattan thing was happening, Manhattan Project.
right.
But so since you're relatively new, do you know, I mean, or you would know this, are there Adobe homes in your area?
Just a couple,
Just
not
a
a whole
few.
lot.
Yeah.
We
Not a
sold
whole
one last year.
Yeah.
We sold one last year.
October-ish, I think.
Yeah, about October. Out in Pajarito Acres, there was an Adobe built out there that had at one time been a winery, and it had a lot of history. And Suzette and her husband used to go there to wine parties and whatnot back in the day. And it was an Adobe.
And why are there so few Adobes, or almost not, there aren't any hardly up in your area?
Right.
Why is that? I mean, Santa Fe, you know, we have a ton of them, and I think in Espanola, northern New Mexico. Why is it? Just because it's a newer community, and at that point they didn't want to, you know, they didn't want to deal with making Adobes. It's harder.
Right.
It takes longer.
Correct.
It's probably
Take longer. You know, when folks moved here, we had, you know, they had to build houses as quickly as possible for everyone. So I think that's probably more of it. There is another we sold up on Bronca Mesa. That's Adobe, and that was really fun. But yeah, very few. I think just because they needed to build as quickly as possible.
And I know here in Santa Fe, I mean, from what I read, we don't, you know, we have very, very little inventory. Is that the case up in your area as well?
Yes. Yesterday we had 6 homes on the market.
And what would be the typical? What would be
About 19 is on our good time. You know, we ran most of 2019. We ran with an average of 19 homes on the market per day. So it's a one on, one off. It's not the same 19. Our average day on market is 7 days on market. So it is one on, one off. And then during 2020, we ran about 11 homes on the market. Again, it's not that it's sitting here and we're all trying to sell those 11 homes and we're waiting for the perfect buyer. We have the buyers. It's just a matter of, you know, that one home comes off, we're going to have another one listed most likely. But yeah, we definitely have that supply and demand problem.
And then I wonder, because, you know, I guess the largest employer up in your area is the Los Alamos National Labs. Once these, you know, people retire from their career up there, do they just stay there, and that's why they don't move, and that's why there's not a lot of houses? Or,
correct.
I mean, they just stay in their homes after they retire?
Yeah,
comfortable.
I think a few years ago, Los Alamos was had a national designation of, you know, best place to retire. So we were #1 in the country. So there's just so much to do here, and it's a lovely small community that's safe, and you know, neighbors look after each other. It's like Mayberry. So
that's what your friend Lynn said yesterday. I was reminding her, when my children were little, we once went up there, and you have an outdoor ice skating ring, and the guy that like grades the ice rink, after he got off his little truck or machine, he jumped into the concession stand and sold us a hot dog. I mean, it was like, where would you find that? So I know
Right
you
here.
also mentioned that you sell, in addition to Los Alamos, Santa Fe County, some of the outside areas you're also active in, just because again, there's just not that many houses available now. Tell me a little bit about some of the other counties or areas that you do service.
Well, the Jemez, obviously, because the Jemez Mountains are our backyard.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of subdivisions that are only 35 minutes away from Los Alamos. And so if we have a buyer who isn't finding what they need here in Los Alamos County, then 35 minutes gets you either in the mountains of the Jemez or put you in the north side of Santa Fe. So we tell our clients, go do drive-bys, go and look in the neighborhoods, see what you like. And if you like the drive to Santa Fe, then that's going to dictate, your 35, 40-minute commute, or go to the Jemez and see if you like mountain living instead. So because of that, we have to keep ourselves educated and, with the Jemez area as well as the Santa Fe area. And mostly that is for our buyers. So Suzette would be the one taking care of that for the most part. We do have some listings in both areas because we have friends all over. And if our friends want us to help them, or we have past clients that have now decided to sell from those areas, we know their homes, we know their market, so we can definitely help in those areas.
And when you say subdivisions, these are already like built up neighborhoods. I mean, you have neighbors. It's not like you're starting from scratch. You don't have to dig a well, that type. I mean, these are subdivisions.
Correct.
Okay.
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
And we have the experience, and we can do the what's the septic and the well and all of that. We have the experience, but that's not something that we have to deal with here in Los Alamos. We are predominantly already built and on city utilities.
And are you finding, since you had that article come out, best place to retire, are you finding people that are wanting to move to Los Alamos, that they're working for the lab, or are they retiring there? What type of people are coming up to your beautiful little Mayberry RFD community?
Well, actually, it's a mix. A lot of them are new hires to the lab. So they're young families. And then there's folks who are here in town, and either because of COVID or whatever, they want a larger home, enough room for an office somewhere. And then, there's retirees that might want to downsize, but they love the community and have had friends here for, 40 years, and they don't want to move. So it's a real mix of different folks here. So, which is lovely.
We've also had, people who will just walk into the office, because we are affiliated with RE/MAX. So we are the Glover Fox team at RE/MAX first. And so we do have an actual office space, and that's with RE/MAX. And so we have walk-ins, not so much last year because of COVID, but prior to that, we would have walk-ins. And I had several walk-ins that were retired people from other states. And they had looked up Los Alamos, and they looked up safe neighborhoods. And if you Google or you start searching for safe communities, you're going to find Los Alamos, because we have.
I'm going to do that. I'm curious.
Yes. We have virtually no crime. And so, we haven't had a homicide in like 10 years or something. It's even more than that.
I don't even remember.
I mean, I have to look it up. It's been so long. We don't have crime. And so.
And is that because you're kind of isolated, or, I mean, I guess burglars want to drive up the hill to get to you?
A combination of that, right? So if you work for the lab, you have to have a Q clearance. So, you have to be like a straight arrow, right? But also, it's just a combination. We're isolated. You have to have a Q clearance and keep that. And just, I don't know, it's small town. Everybody knows.
Like I said, burglars don't want to drive up the hill to rob a house just because where they live or something. Right.
Because we're not robbing or attacking each other. We really do take care of each other.
Yeah.
It's just, And plus we have a beautiful police force, you know, they are our friends. We see them, we visit, and, you know, as long as we're taking care of ourselves internally, then it deters.
Well, that's a major attraction. And I asked Rin this question yesterday. Do you know if a lot of people are utilizing your little airport there? So if somebody's watching this, you know, they might have a private plane. I mean, maybe they want to live there, but they want to fly in and out. I mean, do you know if is that feasible? I mean, are a lot of private planes coming in and out these days? I know the commercial
Right,
planes
the
haven't been
small
doing
plane.
it, right?
Right, correct. Yep.
Okay. Is there, so I told you this interview would go fast. We're at the end of the interview. Are there any other areas you want to just touch on lightly? We could always have a second interview, but is there anything else other than Los Alamos where you are incredible experts in the Jemez? Is there anywhere else you want to mention, another county or area that you're also pretty well versed in?
Well,
It really is. I
Yeah.
mean, we want to stay experts in the areas that obviously we know the best. And, you know, a quality realtor, which we are, quality realtor is not going to spread themselves too thin trying to become experts across the state. It's just not feasible. It's not smart. If you're busy, you know, and we're, you know, thankfully we're close a lot of deals. And so we're not trying to expand broadly. So we'd rather focus on what we have and do it really, really well.
Well, and New Mexico's it's too big. It's too big for you to be all over the place. I love the way that you do provide for your clients the staging. That's a real selling point for me. But I want to thank you again. It's Paula Glover and Suzette Fox of the Glover Fox team up in Los Alamos County. And of course, all of your contact details will accompany this video. I thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks,
Great.
Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Bye.
Thank you.